Good afternoon, everybody. Craig Van Epps here alongside Jackie Kelly Caden, and we're back with another episode of Next and Now. And today is our teams episode and the impact of working together.
Yes, we have two great guests on for our segments, United Way and then LMIpod. And United Way, we had Nan Eaton and Alissa Tubbs, Chief Impact Officer, Laurie Black, the Community Education Director, and for LMIpod, we had interns from LeMoyne on, and both shared incredible stories of working together as a team. And so, you know, that idea of we can't, you know, it's hard to do things if you're not working together, and you have a great story that exemplifies this exactly. Can you share that?
Yeah, it's a story that Joe Pleplinski, our sales leader, shared with us here at the agency, and it was really impactful, and I really enjoyed it, so I thought it fit very nicely on this episode. And it's about the Belgian horses. And for those that don't know, Belgian horses are the horses that pull the most weight in the world, and one horse can pull 4,000 pounds individually, which is incredible.
Which is, yeah.
Right? That's like
Very
the cars
impressive.
that we drive is basically 4,000 pounds.
Sure.
And you would think if you put two horses together, then they would be able to pull 8,000 pounds.
Double.
But what they found is actually if they put a yoke to two horses together, they can pull 16,000 pounds.
It's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
I can't believe it. Yeah.
Working together multiplies the outcome.
Yeah, exponentially.
Now, what they found beyond that is if they have the horses living together, working together, eating together, playing in the field together, and they've developed a relationship, on average, those horses, when yoked together, can pull 32,000 pounds of weight.
It's amazing. Whenever you tell me that, I'm like, what?
Isn't that incredible?
It's amazing. Yeah, you can't believe it. Why?
Well, and then beyond that, the
Yeah.
world record is two brother horses that grew up together, obviously, so they were together from start. And they pulled 52,000 pounds of weight. That's the world record.
That is unreal.
Two horses.
Yeah.
And that just speaks to the episode that we talk about today with United Way and with the interns and
And
the
here's
projects
the
that they're
why.
working on, is when you have that relationship and you've developed that, and you have somebody you trust working alongside you, you can do so much more. You want to do more, right?
Yeah. And that's what Nan talked about too. She's the director at United Way, and she talked about when they were coming up with their theme or their motto, one person can do something, we can all do something. But when you do it together, you can do so much more.
Right.
And so their motto is United We Do More.
United we do more.
And so just
Yeah.
speaking exactly to that story of the horses, they can do something when they're, you know, when by themselves, but when they're together and they trust each other, they can do so much more.
Absolutely.
Exponential, the difference you can make.
So it's a great episode.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it.
Enjoy the show.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Craig Van Epps alongside Jackie Kelly Caden, and we're back with another episode of Next and Now. And we are honored and privileged to have with us today the United Way, such a tremendous organization that does so much within our community to foster an environment of giving back and engaging the community to help others. And thank you for being with us today. Nan, thanks for joining us. Could you just take a few minutes to introduce yourselves and everyone's role and everyone on the team here?
Yeah, so it's wonderful to have you here. I'm Nan Eaton. I have the privilege of serving as the president of the United Way of Central New York.
And I'm Alissa Tubbs. I'm our Chief Impact Officer here at United Way of Central New York.
And I'm Laurie Black. I'm the Community Education Director here at United Way.
It's so nice to have you. We are on our podcast. We are so excited. As you all know, I'm a huge fan. And we just wanted to kind of have a conversation around the team here and what you do. You make such a big impact in the community. You do create magic. And we are attributing that to how you work here together. So how do you work together as a team, and how do you foster that together?
I will say that I have had the privilege of hiring many of the people here, and certainly the folks on our leadership team. And for me, the most important thing is that we look for someone who is committed to the community, right? Who cares and is doing this work because they're driven to be involved in the community, to make a difference in the community. And for me, it's about making it easy for people to make a difference, right? And that's what United Way is all about. So every person on our team, whatever role they play, we emphasize the why, right? The why. It's not raising money because we want to raise a lot of money. It's not coordinating volunteers because we want to have the biggest number of anything. We do it because ultimately, when we have more resources, we can do more things in the community, have that impact that Alissa and the volunteers on our board drive. And I think that's been the key, is that we're all here. We know why we're here. We're always striving to do more and really thinking about how do we engage people in the community in new ways? How do we reach new people? And Jackie, I know you've talked about this, but when we, years ago when I first came, and we, wonderful local firm Drive Research did a pro bono study for us, and we wanted to know, do people know about United Way? And if they do, what do they think about United Way? And do they give to United Way? And what we learned, and we're not surprised to learn, was people have heard of United Way. There's a high brand perception. People know, oh, I've heard of United Way. I don't really know what they do, but I've heard of you.
Exactly.
And the team we've assembled is really focused on helping people, number one, understand what does it mean, what does the United Way of Central New York do? How does United Way of Central New York make a difference? And, if we have a moment, we can talk about the history, but for me, then it is, how can I become part of it, right? So the why is that people find themselves in need for a variety of reasons. And then the how is coming together. So since the inception of this United Way in 1917, when the mayor of Syracuse brought together 100 community leaders to present what he called his war plan for fighting poverty and need. And I think he realized government alone can't do it. It's the community thinking together and making sure that when someone finds himself in need for whatever reason, and need is much more than financial. So parents who find out their child has some sort of special needs and they say, I don't know what to do, right? Or someone who might be injured in an accident and all of a sudden becomes someone who uses a mobility device, a wheelchair, right? Life changes in an instant, and you realize, I need help. Has nothing to do with money. So all kinds of ways people might be in need. So the mayor of Syracuse said to these 100 community members, will you join me in traveling around the community and talking about what we could do if we do it together? And how about if everyone contributes whatever they can to essentially one bank account that we will use to invest in services for people who live here. His goal in 1917 was to raise $600,000, and in 3 weeks, this community donated over $1.1 million, and a movement began.
In
1917, yeah.
In 1917. That's what you said that night that I was like hanging on your words at the event Craig took me to, because I was like, what? If they could do that in 1917, we can do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the United Way was originally incorporated as the Syracuse Community Chest in 1921, and then renamed the United Way of Central New York in 1972. And the value proposition has always been that by coming together, thinking together, looking at need together, we can do the most good for the most people. And what we say here is United We Do More, right?
Yeah.
So
I know.
our Chief Marketing Officer, Ray Manassa, came up with a phrase that we think resonates, which is, alone we do what we can, united we do more.
Love that.
Ooh, I
Love
like
that.
that contrast.
Yeah.
Because you can do things by yourself, but you can do so much more.
Right,
You're
and
connected.
the team here is really focused on the why and then the how. And the community, people, honestly, people who you have that couple of minutes to talk about United Way, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So then the team becomes bigger because the team is the people who are involved, the people who contribute in whatever way they can, whether that's resources. Some folks say, oh my gosh, I'm so busy between work and family, but I'm delighted to give you money because I know you're going to get the most return on my investment into the community.
Utilizing my money. Yes.
And then other folks say, oh my gosh, I'm struggling to make ends meet, but I'd love to volunteer. And there's a million ways to volunteer.
Yes.
And so the team is really the whole community. And I think we all feel very honored to partner with community members who care.
So so the team is, so you're telling that vision that I heard that night last year, you're saying that same thing to the team here. So you're all, it's that same mission as you're getting volunteers. You are also here because you believe in that. You're so, you're so drawn in by this mission. So I'm just curious about your title, Chief Impact Officer. Yes, I'm obsessed with that.
Me too.
Yeah, and so can you share a little bit more about that and what you do and how you become the Chief Impact Officer?
Yeah, so as a Chief Impact Officer, I am constantly understanding the needs in our community because, again, we want to make the most difference that we can with the resources, the volunteers, and trying to understand that and understand that there's a broad spectrum of needs and what strategies, what programs, what services are most effective for that. So, part of it is overseeing our community program fund and our grant allocation process. My team kind of heads up that process, as well as the programs and services and coalitions that we're a part of. So really kind of thinking holistically and where it makes the most sense for us to make a difference.
The greatest impact.
Yeah.
Hence your title.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was drawn to this position. I started out my career in human services, working one-on-one with families and doing nutrition counseling and home visiting. And I became frustrated because as one person, I could only help, the 10 to 20 individuals at a time. And so throughout my career, I've become more and more interested in, coalitions and partnerships and just how can we bring the community together? Because when we come together, we can do and help so many more people.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of what drew me to this position and to the United Way.
And how about you, Laurie? I volunteer with Book Buddies, so I know you very well. Yeah,
So as a community education director, my portfolio is youth development and education. And the through line in my career has always been education, but from the community side. So not a teacher myself, but mobilizing community in support of the education outcomes in our community. So in early childhood, how to get more kids ready for school. It's about the community supporting early child development. I now focus on early literacy in the Book Buddies program, which you're familiar with. We both are. You both have been volunteers with the Book Buddies program. And in that role, I love my job. I think I have the best job in the United States because I get to engage with community volunteers to bring them in to partner with schools. And as Nan says, I love the motto, United We Do More, because we really couldn't touch as many kids without community volunteers. Yeah. And so the idea that so many kids are not reading on grade level by third grade is where we focus our attention in bringing community volunteers in to link up with students one-on-one to help those kids practice their reading. So it's all about data-driven, making sure that more kids are reaching grade level reading, but mobilizing community and collectively helping the schools. Because the schools really can't do education alone, even though we think it all happens in the school, so much happens in community. And so we gotta partner up with the schools, mobilize community, and really help where we can.
Yeah, and talking about Chief Impact, the impact when I was sitting here training with Book Buddies, this was like research-based science of reading programming that we're using. So that was a huge deal for me as a third grade teacher.
As a third grade teacher,
that we were going back to that. We had lots of interesting debates in Teachers College about whole language versus phonics space, and it was really interesting that you have found that makes the biggest impact, and so that's what you're delivering in the schools, partnering with us in the community.
Right, and from the volunteer perspective, we're just mobilizing community volunteers so kids can get practice. We still need great teachers in the classroom, and the Syracuse City School District supports them, and we're just a complement because we know kids need to practice if they're going to become stronger readers.
Yeah.
So we design a really supportive environment that the community brings to those students so they have fun while they're learning to read.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, one of the things that was great, we have a great friend Dr. Robert Simmons from Micron Foundation. And Robert came to Book Buddies, and he's an educator himself, and he's passionate
We're there
about
that day.
literacy.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said after he was at Book Buddies, he appreciated the interaction of the adults helping the kids practice. Well, what he really loved was seeing the interaction of the adults and the kids, and seeing the children thriving with this caring adult who was there for that child. It was all in focus. And that, I loved hearing Dr. Simmons say that, because, you know, he's a person who he's an expert. And hearing him say that was really, it was music to my ears. Because that's really what Book Buddies is also about, is that children, you see their faces light up when they see their volunteer come, because the beauty of Book Buddies to me is it's also the relationship. So a book buddy makes that commitment every week. I'm going to come and I'm going to read with two children, the same two children, and you see their progress, you know. And so people who, it's hard sometimes to make the commitment and find that time, because a lot of our volunteers are busy professionals, and yet so many end up saying, it's my favorite hour.
I just said that, right?
Such a nice break,
It is
yes.
the best. your desk is on fire, your phone's ringing off the hook, and you walk out and it's like, with these kids who they don't care about your desk on fire.
No, my little
They don't even know about
yeah,
it.
She just couldn't wait. She always had a lunchbox full of treats. She had to open up every single one for her first thing. You know, get them all laid out. Yeah, and you know, we did become pretty close there. And at the end, you know, you have your little celebration, and we said our goodbyes. And I was walking out, and she came running back up for another hug. And it was waterworks. I'm not gonna lie. You do get attached, you know, during the process. But it's a beautiful program.
Yeah, it really is.
And as Laurie said, data driven. So everything we do is data driven when we think about how do you decide, right? Because you can't boil the ocean, and we're not trying. And that's one of the hardest things, I think, right? Is that we see so many needs. And trying to think about how we make those decisions. And we have community members who are on our community impact committee, looking at, based on the resources that we have, what are the best ways to focus these resources. We try to leverage outside resources, so we have some great programs. I don't know, Alissa, if you want to talk a little bit about Ride United, but we're very grateful to be a part of a worldwide organization, United Way Worldwide, that is the brain power advocacy work, and yet every United Way is local. So we're a local nonprofit. We have our own board of directors. We decide what it is we do in this community, because who knows our community better than we do? And people giving here want to make a difference here. And yet we are getting outside resources from United Way Worldwide to do some really exciting work here.
Well, that's good. And that's kind of a piggyback, or kind of an entry into your question about how do you sift through all of that?
All the ideas.
All the
you
ideas,
know,
the
share with
differing
the team. Yeah.
opinions. Yeah, like what do you...
We have boxing gloves. I'm just kidding.
Well, and that's even for our, you know, on a local team, how would you navigate through all of that? Like, oh, I want to do this, or what about this, or what about this? But then you also have the information you're getting from the Worldwide United Way. So how do you kind of, sift through?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not an easy process, but I think we try to get as many different perspectives as we can, and data and information to help us make those decisions. And so it's also having really key partners and collaborators in the community, so we also know where other resources are, what other investments are happening, so that we can work together to, again, make the most difference that we can. We don't need to run every single program. We don't need to fund every single program out there, but we need to know where there's a need, where there's a gap, and where we can make the most difference to fill that.
Yeah, and what were you referencing that Alissa? You wanted Alissa to
Ride
say?
United,
yeah, so
just
our-
as an example, I
Yeah,
think.
so as an example of what we can do as being part of a worldwide federation is at United Way Worldwide, they are coordinating corporate partnerships and different philanthropic donations at that level that can trickle down to our local United Way. And so the Ride United program is, so I'm sure you may be aware, but transportation is a huge barrier for so many in our community. And so United Way Worldwide has developed these relationships with DoorDash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to have us be able to use their delivery infrastructure to get essential goods to the homes of families. So if a family doesn't have a car or can't get to a local food pantry, we're able to coordinate a delivery of that box of goods through the DoorDash network.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, so last year we helped over 3,000 deliveries happen in our community through our partners, through our nonprofit partners who identify these individuals and have the goods that they know that the family needs and wants, but just cannot
Can't get
can't
there.
get there. So
And it's been even, Oswego County, we partner with Aaron's Angels.
Yep.
And thinking about, and we partner with the Syracuse City School District so that when kids are home for school break, we work with the food bank. Hundreds of boxes are delivered to homes of families so they have food for their kids during school breaks. Because we know more and more families in our community are working, and yet the reality of it is the numbers don't work so well, right?
Right.
They aren't making enough to get by.
Right.
And that sort of help. And so we're delighted that we can partner, say to our nonprofits, we can get things to the folks you're serving. You don't have to have staff time to do it. We can do it.
We can do it.
And so those are the sorts of things we're always looking to.
Different collaborations.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what are then some highlights then that you would love to talk about for like, when you think about the calendar year, the events, the programming, what are some of the key ones you want to talk about at United Way? I know the Gala's coming.
Well, so
I
but
see you guys
first,
getting big on
yeah,
that.
yeah. So but first, before the party,
Yes, before the
we're
party.
having the breakfast.
Yes.
So
Oh,
we
that's
have
right.
an event called State of Caring, and it'll be the second time we're hosting this breakfast event at the downtown Marriott.
Yeah.
And there's sort of three goals of this event. One is Drive Research, that firm I mentioned, is updating. They're doing a new study on charitable giving in Central New York. We knew back in 2022, when you looked at the numbers nationally, giving was down in every category for only the fourth time since 1956 in 2022. And we, again, data, we're looking at that. And so thankfully, Drive Research said, let's find out what people here are thinking of doing. They did a study for us, what a great partner they are. And it really highlighted what are the top needs that people in their 20s in our community are thinking about, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And do they volunteer? Do they think they could do more? Do they give? And it wasn't about United Way, it was about giving, right? This was more about philanthropy. And we also give a community update. So we want folks to know, here's what some of our challenges and opportunities are. And then we give out some awards. So we are thrilled to recognize partners who've made a big difference and celebrate those achievements. That'll be September 10th at the downtown Marriott. I bet it'll sell out because it was so popular last year.
So get your ticket.
And then it's campaign season. So our campaign co-chairs this year are Evelyn Ingram from Wegmans and Ryan Benz from Many Things.
Yes.
Redev and also Oh My Darling, many, many things. We're excited about the campaign this year. I think our theme of United We Do More continues because that's what it's all about. And folks, I think this year are going to get a little more of an idea of more what, right? Which we're excited about. And then our drives begin.
Yep.
First, our personal care products drive, which is a lot of organizations love getting involved because people can donate personal care items. Again, those cannot be purchased with food stamps,
That's right.
right?
Yes.
Shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, toothpaste, all of those things. And then we get together volunteers to pack these big plastic bags and bring them to places throughout the community. So organizations that serve people who are financially perhaps not as well off as they'd like to be right now. So whether it's Samaritan Center, Rescue Mission, the different shelters, some of the programs that we support in many ways. Then we will go into a party at the landmark for our gala, which is really no speeches, no seated
It's
tables.
just a party.
It's really a party for our community to celebrate this amazing community.
A Evelyn up dance floor.
Yes, and I have to tell you, I've had some of our company leaders say, I'll never miss that event. It's the best
Never.
party in town.
It is the best.
And then we go right into the holidays. So the Christmas, the CNY Children's Book Drive. Last year we gave out over 6,000 brand new books, which will lead right us into, at the same time, our Share the Warmth Drive.
Right.
So that is new or very gently used coats, new gloves, hats, mittens, socks. And on Martin Luther King Day, we don't have a day off, we have a day on, in partnership with the Greater Syracuse Labor Council to do the MLK Day of Service.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
To hear all of
Full
this.
calendar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many people I think out there that want to get involved, but they're not really sure how to connect. And it's not, obviously we need funds to drive all these programs, but it's not always just about the funds. So many people also could volunteer in different ways, whether it's their time or their talents in one way or another. What are some ways that they can connect with the organization and learn more and figure out where they might fit in to give their best to be able to move it forward?
Well, let's start with book buddies, Laurie, because we have a new school coming on board.
Right, so I'm always happy to promote book buddies and recruiting volunteers. So anyone who's interested in considering book buddies, I'm happy to talk to them, or they already know they're able to give an hour a week for a school year. They can go to cnybookbuddies.org. And so, as Nan said, we are expanding. So we had 500 volunteers last year. We need 600 this year. So we are definitely interested in more of your audience coming in thinking about maybe being a book buddy.
Absolutely.
And then there's so many other opportunities through other programs.
Yeah, I'll add that this year we are recruiting more volunteers for the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. So we coordinate that on behalf of the IRS to find partner sites to host tax preparers to help community members prepare their taxes for free. So this past year, we prepared over 3,200 tax returns and helped bring $4.1 million back into this community.
Wow.
And so we are, it's a program that volunteers are trained and certified through the IRS, so you don't need to know anything about taxes. You'll learn it all through the course, and we are actively seeking volunteers to help us through January through April 15th of this upcoming tax season.
And you don't have to be a CPA?
What a great program.
I know.
Yeah.
What?
Training's right there
No,
for
that's
you.
all. Yep. Every year, the volunteers are trained. They go through. It can be done on your own through a module platform that the IRS provides, or we will also host some Zoom trainings to help make sure people feel comfortable with the certification exam.
Amazing.
And the beauty of that program is that these are working families, and we want to be sure that they benefit from all possible tax credits. So the earned income tax credit, the child care tax credit, the
Right.
governor just expanded
Yes.
the child care tax credit in New York, which
Yes.
is really important
Yes.
because more and more folks throughout our community are just not making it.
Yeah.
They're working, some people are working 3 jobs. And, honestly, while we love celebrating the good things, we also need to face realities. And we have had a 150% increase in homelessness since 2021. And for the first time that we know of, there are more individuals homeless in families than individuals homeless. And I will say we are blessed to be, Onondaga County is such an amazing leader in terms of human services, investment in early childhood. We are blessed to have the leadership we have in the way the county focuses on what people in this community need. But we as a community still have a lot of work to do as we think about how are we making it possible for a family to stay where they're living. You know, rents went up an average of 30 to 40%. And many families who've been working hard paying their rent, that tipped the boat over.
Yeah.
And it makes it even more important for the tax assistance to be done.
Exactly.
I think the average return was $1,400 or $1,600. And some families, I remember a couple of years ago, this was sort of the biggest example I remember, was a single dad, 5 kids. His withholdings had been wrong. He got a return of something like $14,000. Which, when you're struggling to pay bills and take care of your family, that's transformational.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that program is the volunteers, again, you know, book buddies have that reward of seeing the progress a child makes. And we know that if you're not reading by 3rd grade, you're going to struggle the rest of school. And the volunteer tax preparers have the benefit of saying, oh, you're going to get a $2,000
What a fun job
refund.
To that buzz, that's amazing, actually.
Yeah.
But this is what we're saying, like, this is a one-stop shop hub place. That's what it was so compelling for me when Craig introduced me to you guys. It was like, oh my goodness, you can make a difference in something that you care about. And I'm going to care about something different than Craig, than my dad, than, you know, your other team member at your office. And so there's something for everyone.
So volunteercny.org is the place people can go. And it's agencies from around the region can post. We have hundreds of them that have posted. The great thing is if you have a passion about children, you type in the keyword children, and you're going to get a list of opportunities. Or if you're into dogs, which I might be the only person on our staff who doesn't have a dog, you can type that in, and you can type in seniors, or any sort of environment, right? Or whatever you want.
Right.
And there'll be opportunities. And one of the things we love every year is we do our annual Day of Caring, which is a community-wide Day of Caring. This year, I think it was over 1,440 people volunteered that day on August 1st.
Yes.
Everything from Tommy Lincoln of Stay Fresh designing a second mural this year. So it's on a Tiny Home for Good building.
Oh, yeah.
And last year he did one at Huntington Family Center. To people landscaping, painting, building things.
Yeah, that's what we did. We just
serving
painted
food.
at Jewonio School, and it was like, oh, they were so happy that this is checked off their list.
Yeah.
We don't have to think about it now. Done.
And-
Exactly.
And at Haley Friar, we had folks out doing landscaping at the farm and painting a few different locations, and it's such a great team building exercise as well to get together with your teammates and be able to work together on that cause. It's something that we look forward to every year.
And what's music to my ears is when we all try to go out and stop at as many places to say
and
thank
it was fun
you
to
as
see
we
you
can.
guys. Yeah, we love that.
What I loved this year especially, I had a number of different people at different sites say, oh, the great thing was I didn't know anything about this organization, and doing this helped me realize, and now my team volunteers here regularly.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
That's amazing.
Because we have so many organizations here that only survive because of volunteers. Samaritan Center is probably one of the best examples, or Book Buddies for that
Well,
matter.
what is exactly?
Volunteers are what make those programs possible. And it's great to have people have an experience and then all of a sudden a new connection. Oh, there we go. I found my fit.
Yes.
Because a lot of people say, I'd like to make a difference, but I'm so busy. I don't, how do I do that?
And I love the mission, and I hope I get it right, but igniting the spirit of community and collaboration and engagement, right? It just brings people together, and then a ripple effect, as you just mentioned, of the impact that it can have at some of the other organizations that people become more familiar with and say, okay, I'm passionate about this now and I want to be involved every year.
That's the team. It's
Yeah.
you guys, and then us and the community. Yeah, the volunteers and the community. So working
Absolutely.
Thank you
Fantastic.
so much. Oh my goodness for coming on the podcast. We are obviously huge fans, and we're so honored that you're here.
Well, we're honored to have you in our United Way
Well, we're in
family.
your we're in your space. Yes,
But you're
thank
part
you.
of us. I mean,
Yes.
it's only
Yeah.
together that this happens.
That's right. United, we do more.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thanks
you guys.
again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Craig Van Epps here alongside Jackie Kelly Caden. We're back with another episode of Next and Now. And today we have the pleasure of having our interns here that have been in the industry throughout the summer from LeMoyne, and we're happy to have you. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi everyone. First off, thank you guys for having us. This is a wonderful opportunity to be here on your podcast. My name is Gerardo Gomez. I'm currently a sophomore at LeMoyne College.
Yeah, I'm Kenny Robinson. I'm a junior at LeMoyne. And I'm Sean Stevenson. I'm a sophomore at LeMoyne College.
Excellent. And what brought you guys together?
I think what really started it for me, I met Kenny. He was my tour guide when I first got to LeMoyne. And one of the first things that when we met, his motivation and the conversation that we had that first day really inspired a much greater friendship that would lead on. So
I have a likewise experience with Kenny. He's a very genuine person. He's a great leader. He was actually my orientation leader coming into college. And coming into college for me was exceptionally different. I was exceptionally nervous because I'm from out of state, coming to a new state, I'm meeting new people. And Kenny was a great person, being a leader for me and helping me guide through the start of my professional career.
and these two surpassed me in almost everything, right? So yeah, I recognized that we had some similar values and brought them together, introduced them to each other, introduced them to a few of my other friends, and now we've got a nice little team. And that's really how we met. And then, going forward, just kind of showed them the ropes those first few months in college, which led to the career fair, right? And from there, introduced you guys to different careers, different industries, right? And then kind of went from there.
Yeah, a big part I'd like to mention about the career fair is that both me and Sean were incredibly nervous at that moment too. We didn't know much about the industry, we didn't know
Yeah.
much about any of the industries.
That's learning on a network.
And a big part of helping us get through that barrier and breaking the ice was Kenny.
Oh, I had been through it before, that was my
Was it your first rodeo?
that was my third career fair, so I already had the connections. I already had the experience of doing it before. So when we walked down there together, and then I left you two to your own devices for a little bit, and then caught up later, realized, all right, let's do it together for a bit, and then walked you guys around, introduced you to a few people, and I think actually we all met our future employer there, right?
We did, yeah.
So, right? Yeah, so it's funny actually, I met Craig at my first career fair at LeMoyne. And now you're interning for and now I'm him. interning for him. Right? My first insurance internship was with Brown & Brown in Syracuse. I met Brown & Brown at that career fair.
Yeah. And my first internship was actually a tax internship, but I got it through the first career fair. And then my second career fair, I was able to get my first insurance internship at Utica National.
Right.
What an incredible event that LeMoyne puts on
Yeah.
for all the reasons you guys just said.
Just being able to
Yeah.
grow together.
Yeah.
We love LeMoyne.
This is a big fan club.
Yes.
This is our team's episode. So, what brings you together as a team? Like, what are the things that you think sparked this magic here?
Yeah, no, it actually stems from that career fair, right? So we all met our future employers. My employer, like I said, was Brown & Brown. I had a spring internship there where I was mentored under Steve Messina. And something that I will forever be grateful for with that is that he introduced me to the language behind commercial insurance, right? And the fine art of insuring you're getting the right coverages. There's a lot there, and I hadn't been shown that before, and really found he ignited a passion in that space for me. And from there, I had two very driven friends who were also in the insurance classes at LeMoyne and said, you guys got to check this out. This is the cool part about insurance.
So you're like the spark, and then you found
Yes, and yes, and from there, we started a study group about the technical side. That's what it's called, the technical side of commercial insurance. And from there, because we were all learning, you said it earlier, right? It's hard to find it on Google, right? So with that, people who are just starting out in the industry, it's hard to learn that stuff, right?
It was one of those
Okay.
years ago. Yeah,
So
it really is.
What we decided was there's a need, and let's make a podcast. Let's have experts in different parts of the commercial industry on to talk about their topics and go from there, right? So we're hitting the issue on two fronts, really. Yeah. You want to take that?
Sure. Yeah. So we started with an intro segment, which we'll be coming out with soon, but it is very much going to be on commercial property. And what we want to do here is like little mini series almost that build together this knowledge. And I think if you want to go more into the two sides,
and then right, the foundation, right, the intern stuff, and also stuff to attract both of you, right? So that's more high level. The thing that we're currently thinking of is CrowdStrike, right? There's a lot of insurance that's behind what happened with CrowdStrike a few weeks ago. What's the difference between business interruption and event coverage? That's a great example, right? Stuff to attract people who are already in the industry. So that's how we're tackling the issue, and we're like Sean said, we're coming out with our first episode soon.
Yeah, and speak a little bit to why you had the idea sparked by, and we'll talk about the name of the podcast, but what about you two? What was attracting you to them as well? Like, what made this whole thing work?
You want to take it?
I think, one of the things that we exemplify is just advocacy. We all have slowly become advocates and leaders for the insurance industry just because we're already so passionate about this. And one thing we also mentioned earlier is just a work ethic. We all love working together. We all love working as communities to build towards something greater. And generally, we love learning, we love growing.
Yeah, you're relying on those goals.
Yeah, I think the one thing, I was talking to another member of our podcast team this morning. Something that I said to her is, there's a reason why everyone is there, and that is because of the shared overachieverness, right? The work ethic, right? And also the fact that the quality of people, I'm blown away that I get to be surrounded with people, like you said, advocacy, right? Community, all great words, and just, they make me better every day, and that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're talking about here in this episode is the team and the impact of working together, and everybody brings a unique value, right?
Yeah.
And with those unique values comes that greatest impact and return of the outcome, right?
Yes, and you talk about that too, and you talk about advocacy, that it's not just the paper and the technical terms of insurance, it's also the advocacy in the community, and we've talked about that too, how being part of your community locally, you can't have a business without insurance, you can't have insurance without your big local businesses. So yeah, that all kind of comes together. We're all a team together, really.
And what was it about our industry that got you excited and drives that passion that you still have here today that you talk about, not only for your learning, but now trying to bring education to others and excitement and awareness to our industry with other folks that are watching here?
Yeah, for me, I would say it was the collaboration. I think being able to get to work with individuals like this, not only at LeMoyne College, but just in the industry as an intern, meeting new people every day. Insurance is very much a relationship industry, and getting to know people, especially at our age, getting to know as many people as possible, and really learning the fun stuff has been pushing me in the right direction.
I think the community, right? If there's one word to describe why anyone should do this stuff, right? It is community. It is the reason why. It was the last selling point that got me into insurance, right? We've started this podcast. It's called LMIpod, Learning More Insurance, right?
Oh, yeah.
So with that, we are just starting on it. This podcast is much more of a follow us on our journey, right? And with that, we need help. We need industry experts to come on. Everyone I have talked to so far, they have introduced me to somebody else to talk to and said, this is perfect. You guys need to do this. I'll help you, right? All of that, the community, you two, for inviting us on.
Of
Which, I mean,
course.
Jet said it at the beginning, but I mean, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, of
It's so, the community that you two are representing right now is just fantastic. And so I think that is why I have become so passionate by this industry.
It's definitely a rub-off kind of effect. We see our leaders are so passionate about this. When I was at Utica National, I didn't see a single person, a single leader that wasn't dedicated or passionate about their role. And I find that to be a general between all insurance, the entire insurance industry. And we can feel that. We can feel that passion. We can feel that leadership. And it reflects off us in such a very positive way because it encourages us to grow, not only as individuals, but it encourages us to grow within the insurance industry. And as Sean mentioned, the relationship side, it encourages us to be a better tight-knit community.
I have had, beautifully said. I've had a very similar experience being in, this is my third year in, and I agree, it's the people, and people are so willing to help and connect you. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very
I'm
much.
looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with LMIpod and following you in the future.
Yeah. You'll have a bright future in this industry if you want one, we can tell, certainly. So thank you all for coming on.
Thank you guys.
Awesome, yeah.
Next to Now is hosted by Jackie Kelly-Caton and Craig Van Epps and produced by Michael Abbott.
Music by Michael Bullock.
Logo designed by Craig Van Epps and Maddie Tomkos.
And a special thank you to the whole Big I team for all of your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.